As you step in, make sure to hit the like button, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Okay, afternoon. It's not quite evening. I figure after 5 will be evening time, but I digress. Yeah, and I tell you, last night was a fun live stream. It really was. Talking about how bad the NBA was. It was a long night last night, as many of us know. But I digress. You see the title. The New York Football Giants hired John Harbaugh. I was watching the news, some of the news stations, they were mispronouncing the name. Remember, the Harbaugh have two brothers coaching now in the NFL. Jim Harbaugh is the more, well, you know what? I'll take that back. John Harbaugh has the Super Bowl ring. Because of that, he is the more accomplished head coach. But Jim Harbaugh actually has more to do with building a franchise than John Harbaugh. And here's the reason I say that. John Harbaugh was very lucky because at the beginning of his reign, he had a GM called Ozzie Newsome. Anybody worth their salt knows that Ozzie Newsome helped build the Baltimore Ravens. It was Ozzie Newsome who drafted guys like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. Okay? That's all you need to know. He drafted Joe Flacco. I don't know whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, but the fact of the matter is Joe Flacco does have a Super Bowl ring, and during that Super Bowl run, he had a magical 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That might be the most underrated standard in NFL Super Bowl playoff history. That's why I have to respect Harbaugh. Have to respect Joe Flacco. Even at his advanced age right now, Joe Flacco can still fling the ball down the field, something that is sorely lacking for a lot of football teams right now. Am I going to tell you that John Harbaugh is not going to make a difference? He will absolutely make a difference. But some of these delusional Giant fans have decided that the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl, then they really need to pump their brakes. And I know one of them is probably Michelle's daughter, but I know that Michelle's daughter is a lot smarter than some of these so-called Giant fans. Now, and I'm going to open up the line for other people. John Harbaugh is very accomplished. He had a very long career with the Ravens. If you want to say it's very similar to Mike Tomlin, who just parted ways with the Steelers. Well, he stepped down allegedly. I'm pretty sure that the Roonies told him, "Listen, just go ahead and step down. You hear the guys. We're gonna give you a little bit of a severance package. You can go to ESPN, CBS, Fox, whatever." And I digress. And I tell you what, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I wouldn't want to come back to the Steelers anyway. That was a wonderful live stream too. And shout out to the people who were on the panel and also in the clouds and the bushes and participated in that live stream. That was another fun one. Here is where I have to tell the Giant fan to pump their brakes. And this is why you have to look at this a little bit side-eyed. Now, is he a better coach than Brian Daboll? Absolutely. Is he better than the last couple of coaches the Giants have had? Is he better than Tom Coughlin? Absolutely not. Even though Coughlin, and I understand he won 2 Super Bowls, but Coughlin, I don't want to say he was a great coach. He was a very good coach. But he did, listen, he had Eli and they beat Brady twice. So because of that, Tom Coughlin will more than likely end up in the Hall of Fame. Now, if you want to look at his work with the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially when they started out as an expansion team, he did a masterful job in building that franchise. Unfortunately, he was not able to sustain it, which is why Tom Coughlin was able to be the Giant head coach because he got fired from Jacksonville. But that is not why I'm telling Giant fans to pump the brakes. I'm telling Giant fans to pump the brakes because of this glaring weakness in John Harbaugh. In fact, there's two of them. The first weakness is John Harbaugh is more of a defensive-minded head coach. If we saw the Baltimore Raven defense, there were times where the Baltimore Raven defense was abysmal. Now, of course, watching the Steelers all season, you couldn't really tell because our offense was more abysmal than the Ravens' defense. Now, when you took away Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, there's going to be a drop-off. Those are two once-in-a-lifetime generational players. Just like when the Steelers had to lose Troy Polamalu. When he got old, our team got bad. When Casey Hampton got old, we still haven't replaced that man. James Farrier. See, Ryan Clark. Before Ryan Clark became what he became on ESPN and doing his podcast, real Steeler fans and real NFL fans knew that Ryan Clark hit like a Mack truck. When Ryan Clark made that statement and said that they changed the rules because of him, he was 200% right. Because Ryan Clark hit people without any regard for his own body and his own, you know what? I dare to say it. His own health and well-being. Ryan Clark launched himself like a torpedo missile. Ryan Clark was you know what? He reminded me of Chuck Cecil. And any NFL fan worth their salt knows who Chuck Cecil was. That man was a hitter. And Ryan Clark sacrificed in order for Troy Polamalu to do the things that he was able to do for the Steelers. And it's no coincidence that once Ryan Clark got old and was shipped off to the Redskins, that Troy Polamalu was never the same football player. Football, more than any other game, is a team sport. And that's why they try to tell you don't play any hero ball. Because you have to work as one unit. That is why the steel curtains of the 70s are regarded so well. Mean Joe Green sacrificed his stats to come up with something called the Stunt 4-3. That's another chapter in another book. See, I can too easily get distracted a little bit there. But that's the number one part where Harbaugh's defense started letting him down. And he had some decent draft picks. And he had decent players on that defensive side of the football. But they did not play the same way or play well. But here is the number one and most glaring weakness when it comes to John Harbaugh. Unlike his brother Jim, who played quarterback for many years in the NFL. In fact, Jim Harbaugh played quarterback one time for the Chicago Bears. He also played for the Indianapolis Colts, and in fact, Jim Harbaugh actually got the Colts to play in the AFC Championship game in 1995, where they would lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Bill Cowher. That was Bill Cowher's first Super Bowl team. And that was a Super Bowl team led by Neil O'Donnell at quarterback. And you know what he did? He probably got paid off allegedly by Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Or else, listen, there are a couple of Super Bowls that I would love to forget as a Steeler fan. Jim Harbaugh has a very effective offensive philosophy. He is a supreme believer in the ground and pound play action game. Now, Jim Harbaugh has his own problems. He's going to start hearing these things about him as a head coach because, let's face it, his team scored only 3 points against the New England Patriots, and they don't have world beaters on their defense. Now, the Patriots have a very good defense. They don't have a 3-point defense. Let's pump the brakes on that. But in relation to John Harbaugh and his most glaring weakness as a head coach, The last couple of years, he had Lamar Jackson in his prime MVP Lamar Jackson. And he had Derrick Henry, who damn near led the league in rushing last year and didn't even make the playoffs. So now you're going to tell me that you went from quite literally the penthouse to the outhouse. Because let's face it, even though Lamar Jackson had a mediocre year for him at best, and there were times where Derrick Henry looked like he was washed until the last month of the season. I have to be fair to John Harbaugh when it comes to that. But, hey, Room Shaker, how's everything? The fact of the matter is, you're going to tell me, Giant fans, that you're going to win a Super Bowl this year because you hired John Harbaugh as head coach? This is the same John Harbaugh who had Lamar Jackson, MVP, two-time MVP Lamar Jackson, in his prime Lamar Jackson, who didn't even want to play with John Harbaugh, allegedly. And it's one of the reasons he got shipped out the door as it is. You went from Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to Jackson Dart. We saw how bad he was, Giant fans, and I understand he's a rookie and he's still learning. I get it. Cam Scatterboo, who is coming off a gruesome injury. I don't even know if Cam Scatterboo is going to be ready for next season. So let's pump the brakes there. They might still need to draft a running back. And probably their biggest linchpin, Malik Neighbors, who was a Pro Bowl player before he got hurt himself last season. Now, more than likely, Malik Neighbors will be ready for training camp in 2026. We know that Jackson Dart is going to be ready, unless Jackson Dart keeps forgetting not to protect himself at the quarterback position, and he knocks himself silly and ends up getting concussed about 8 times in the season. Then he'll have a career looking like Tua. We see what happened with Tua. We see what happened with his head coach. Now, I am not saying that the Giants did not make a very good hire. I believe they did. Hey, Jay Parrish. But you cannot tell me all of a sudden that the Giants are going to win the division because they have John Harbaugh at head coach. And again, he could not win the division when he had Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and the Steelers had trash. You saw how Aaron Rodgers quit on the team this Monday night. We didn't even have DK Metcalf. Michael Jackson is the best. There's always an idiot. There's always one. Listen, I'm glad that the Giants got Harbaugh in place, and he'll help with the draft. I love you, bro. God bless you. Lord have mercy. I do believe the Giants will improve. I do believe the Giants will go. If the Giants go 9-8, 8-9, something like that, I think that John Harbaugh did his job because the Giants are a work in progress. The Giants' defense was abysmal last year. They're going to have to make some changes. I mean, what am I from? Try where are you from? Oh, jeez. I know they're going to have to make some decisions on Thibodeau, who's a very good pass rusher, Abdul Carter and friends. Oh, you're from Russia, but you speak perfectly good English. That's terrific. Let's get rid of this winner. I know a clown when I see one. I believe that John Harbaugh is a step in the right direction. I don't know who the offensive coordinator is going to be. I would look at Mike McDaniel. He is a very good offensive coordinator. On the defensive side of the football, not sure who's available there. Do not look at, don't look at Terrell Austin. I'm just saying. The Giants are going to have a top 3 draft pick. They can get a franchise-defining player in that. AJ Parrish. I apologize. Now, this GM survived this, which is a freaking joke. The GM should have went with the coach. The GM, and I keep forgetting his name. I think it's Joe Thomas. I don't know who the GM is. In fact, let me look that up just to be on the safe side. I forgot who the Giants general manager is. I don't want to be caught slipping. Let me Google that right now. Who is the New York Giants general manager? I love Google. I don't need to know what a general manager is. I know what a general manager does. It's so stupid. It's stupid. Shut up. Who is the New York Giants general manager? It's Joe Shane. Joe Shane is the general manager of the New York Giants. And he's not a very good one. Let me give you a list of Joe Shane. And, oh, goodness. You know what? The Giants, Joe Shane, this is why the Giants are trash. He was the assistant general manager of the Buffalo Bills from 2017 to 2021. He was a scout for the Carolina Panthers, and he was in the scouting department for the Miami Dolphins. Here's what all of these teams have in common. They haven't won squats. Why would you want this guy? Shane is dreadful. Remember, this is the same idiot who decided to give Daniel Jones the money. Hey, Roslinper, how are you? Oh, from Bangladesh. All right. Well, good to see you. Remember, this is the same Joe Shane who let Saquon Barkley walk the plank and carry a Super Bowl trophy with the rival Philadelphia Eagles. That's the same Joe Shane. He decided to give Daniel Jones $160 million. He re-signed Darius Slayton to a 3-year, $36 million contract. The draft of Deontay Banks, he's been up and down. That's still up for debate. Evan Neal, not a very good offensive tackle. Not good at all. And this is the guy that we have in charge as the New York Giant general manager. Let me tell you, he's not George Young. George Young was the guy who hired both Bill Parcells and drafted Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms. Giants have 2 Super Bowl rings because of those 3 guys. So if I'm a Giant fan, I am cautiously optimistic. But all the talk of Super Bowl and championship and this, that, and the third, let's pump the brakes, ladies and gentlemen. Let's cut that out. Can we beat the Cowboys in a meaningful game, not the end of the season when both of you guys have been eliminated? Can you do that? Can we beat the Eagles with it? Well, you know what? They did beat the Eagles once this season when it counted. And Giant fans were happy. They were really giddy, and rightfully so. But we didn't know how bad the Eagles were reeling. We found that out this weekend in the playoffs. No way they should have lost that game to San Francisco. But if you are a Giant fan, you should crow a little bit. You should be happy that you got John Harbaugh. Listen, was he the best coach of the bunch? Listen, they could have kicked the tires on Mike Tomlin, but I don't know if Mike Tomlin even wants to coach anymore. I don't believe he does. Would I have went after Brian Flores? Absolutely. But you know, the Giants really don't like they don't like head coaches a certain shape. In fact, they've never had one. I don't believe they ever will. So like the Yankees never having a black manager, yeah, pretty much the same thing. And listen, it's about who's best for the job. And Brian Flores has shown he can coach. And he did warn the Miami Dolphins about Tua. He was right about him. And Brian Flores is a defensive-minded coach. And his defense is always bringing. I tell you what, thinking about it, I don't mind Brian Flores if he became the Steeler head coach. I would roll with that. I don't think it's going to happen. And I can guarantee you, after we had almost 20 years of Tomlin, I bet you dollars to donuts that the Steelers are going to stay away from a black head coach. I guarantee it. They better not give me Ryan Day. That's all I'm saying. If I get a garbage college coach, I'm not going to say that I'm a jump ship because I've been the Steeler fan for over 50 years, but I would be highly upset. I'll just say that. But congratulations to Mr. John Harbaugh, and let's see where the Giants go from here. And it can only be upwards from here because they couldn't be any worse, especially this year. With all the injuries, the lackluster play, the boo birds. Listen, the Giants were bad. And Harbaugh does give them some stability. But I'm afraid that this GM is going to screw it up in the draft. So buckle up, Giant fans. You're going to be in for a very bumpy ride. I'm going to end this one because I'm going to do another live stream later on this evening. And I hope that I have some... this is going to be a very interesting live stream because it's going to be about ICE and whether our people should even participate in the protests or not. So make sure to stay tuned for that one. UncleClaude signing out. I'd like to thank Jay Parrish, HLIC Room Shaker, Rosslyn Fur, all those in the clouds, all those in the bushes. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. UncleClaude signing out. Take care. Stay safe. And God bless. See you later on this evening.